and I know that that the EB-5 folks have put together some historical data showing that in recent times, generally from the first warning in the visa bulletin until the actual visa bulletin showing a quota backlog has generally been in the 3-month area or so, 2 to 3 months, and that may in fact happen. However, I can tell you if you go back a little bit further, there's an example where the first warning of an EB-5 quota backlog preceded the actual quota backlog by more than 2 years. However, even more when there are quota backlogs either in existence or coming. The one certain truth is that the sooner you file your application, the better it is. Because especially when there's quota backlogs, the key thing is getting your place in line. And usually when there are backlogs, they get worse before they get better. And so you want to, even if you're subject to a backlog, you want to have the earliest possible priority date. And the priority date is established on the date of filing the petition. So the one sure lesson from all of what we're going to be talking about is if you're thinking of doing EB-5, it is a good idea to do it sooner rather than later.
So think about the priorities as an investor, right? If you're an attorney and you're advising clients, I think this is a good way. This is a good time to start letting them know, like, look, if your priority is getting the green card as quickly as possible, and you're from a traditionally backlogged country, you should probably give a little bit more weight to the rural category. If you are okay with a slightly longer wait period, maybe an extra 3 to 4 years or whatever it may be, for the green card itself, right? You're not dying for the green card. You're okay with the EAD, the advanced parole, which will run up all the way until you get that conditional green card in hand. You just want to kind of lock in your status and have a little bit more freedom in the U.S. Fine, that's totally okay to still consider urban TEA while you can.
So this, for some people, at some point, when there is a quota cutoff date, the ability to do concurrent adjustment of status will go away. However, the good news is that if you have filed concurrent adjustment of status, even if there's a long quota backlog, even if it's years and years of a backlog, you will still be able to keep and extend your employment authorization. You will still be able to keep and extend your travel document. If you were an Indian EB-2 or EB-3, was dependent on continuing to work with your employer, you'll still be in a position where you're not dependent on an employer, and you can continue to extend EAD and AP. But for reasons we'll discuss, it's certainly very possible that we're going to see longer 526E processing times, and that could actually minimize the impact of the quota backlog because it may be by the time the 526E is adjudicated that the quota is available. Good news, if you want to call it good news, is that the longer the quota backlog, the more time the project has to meet the job creation criteria. The other thing to keep in mind is that priority processing results in more rural cases being approved quicker. And that means that, if they're approved quicker and more of them, more numbers will be used. And that means that there will be more quickly quota backlogs coming up for, based on newly filed rural petitions.
I said this, I've said this now 3 or 4 times during this webinar. The long-term outlook for EB-5 has not changed because of the January visa bulletin, right? The things that will change is your ability to get that EAD AP, right? Maybe if you're overseas and you're thinking about timing to get to the US, that might be impacted a little bit. And you certainly want to think about the CISPA and age out ramifications that Ron laid out so clearly for everyone to kind of help everyone understand how that plays into it as well.
And I'd say that the key takeaway is if you are in the US and Indian or Chinese and you know that you want to do EB-5 and this is the path that you want to take, you should move now if getting that EAD in advanced parole is important to you. There's no reason to wait. Hire the attorney now, even if it ends up being 6 months that we have before it hits the visa bulletin. It doesn't matter. We know it's coming in the relatively short order. Do it now if it's the right decision.
As a general rule, there's a lot of advice that we give to our clients that generally can't be done in a matter of a couple of weeks. We talked about it. You know, that there's in choosing a project, choosing a regional center, gathering source of funds. That's more than a couple-week project, assuming we have that time. If we don't have time, we're going to do what we do. It may not be as complete as if we had 2 months to do it, but we'll get it done. But certainly, if you want to get the best advice and have your application be as best as possible, you do want to give your immigration attorney more time than a few weeks.